Well, we'll have another look in here. It's getting a bit repetitive. Sorry about that. I now think it's not the gears. It was the gears originally because the pinion gear was split. And then I 3D printed a gear, the pinion gear, that was okay, but I'd made the teeth a little bit too fat and they weren't meshing very well. So I printed another 3D gear with pointier teeth. It's the best way to explain it. And they seem to mesh okay, but it was then slipping on the spline or the shaft, so I glued it in place, which is alright for a little while. Then the gearbox started making horrible noises again, and I think it's either one of the gears or the motor itself is moving out of alignment and allowing the gears to go out of mesh. So I've added a strengthener to the aerial because the aerial was all loose and floppy. Yeah, I don't think it's this gear, I don't think it's the main gear. It's just possible it might be the next gear is slopping around too much. Or it may even be the motor itself is moving, but I don't think it's the motor because there's quite a bit of padding in with it that stops it moving. Having said that, the actual plastic cradle it sits in doesn't look quite right, as if a bit might be missing. Right, I think it might be this gear, or at least that little stub shaft or stub axle. There's nothing to stop it jumping out of alignment. It sits in there, and what stops it jumping up is the bottom of this case. So I'm just wondering if that can move enough in there to come out of alignment with the motor, because the motor itself seems pretty solid in there. You'd have to be watching the previous video to hear the horrible noise it was making. I've just had another thought looking at that. How about if I reprint that gear with a slightly bigger diameter? Just another 0.5 millimeter or something. I've got to reprint it anyway because it's sliding on the shaft. It's not gripping tightly enough. But that's a thought. If I make that slightly bigger, we're only talking, you know, tenths of a millimeter, whatever a tenth of a millimeter is, milli. I can't remember what the next one is in the sequence. If I just zoom right in on this, if we look at this, you can see it's not perfect the way it's printed anyway. Some of those teeth are a little bit little bit iffy. They're not nice and sharp like you'd get with a moulded gear. And I'm surprised, to be honest, that it's as good as it is. Those two teeth look perfect, but when you go round a bit, like those ones, they look pretty rounded and yeah. People are telling me that 3D printer's fine, but I'm sorry, you know, as I'm turning that slowly around, you can see the difference in the teeth. They're not even. In fact, they're quite awful just there. So yeah, I'll print one that's just a tiny bit bigger, because that might take up the slack when it's moving. I've reprinted the gear. The one on the right is the new one. The one on the left is the old one. And you might be able to see the one on the right is a bigger diameter. I think what happened was I measured the diameter originally, and then I changed the number of teeth. I didn't change or check the diameter after I'd changed the number of teeth. So I think that might have been our problem, that the pinion gear I'd printed was just too small a diameter. We'll find out in a minute, because I'll fit this one, the new one, and see how it does. This is getting a bit frustrating. I've got our new gear on here, I'm putting it back together again, and I've just realised this one, where is it? It's got a tooth missing. There. So if we can see that. There we are, I can see it now. And there's no odd teeth in there, so I don't know where that's gone and when it actually went. Because I've been saying for a long time it's been making a bit of a clicking noise. So that's probably what the clicking noise is, that one missing tooth. So I'll probably have to reprint that now, won't I? Ah, dear me. I'll put it back together and see if that gear is okay now. But I think we're now moving on to this one. What fun. I've got a reason for wanting to get this one back together, because I just want to try out another little body shell swap. Alright, well, we'll stick all that back together. Oh, no we won't. I've just noticed the motor wires have come off. Oh dear. Never ending. Right, bit of soldering to do. Oh, I don't think you could see that. There they are, that's the motor wires. Obviously, they're supposed to be attached to the motor. They're a bit short, so I'll have to lengthen them, I think. Right, another little job to do. Pinion gear is in. The other gears are in place. Broken tooth gear is still there, and I've replaced the motor wires now because they kept breaking off. I'm just holding it together at the moment so I can check that I've got the motor wires the right way round. That is forwards and that is backwards. You can hear that clicking. Never mind, I'm going to put it together just so I can run the car that I want to run. And if it clicks and jams, Well, that's fair enough. We can take it apart again then. That is obviously the most likely thing to happen, is for it to jam up. It is vaguely possible I might even have some of those gears already and not need to print any, because I've taken quite a few of these cars apart and stripped them down. And obviously now I've stripped them down even more times. I do like them, they're good quality. This one just seems to be giving more trouble than all the others put together. Still, it's been a handy way of learning how to print gears with my 3D printer. Clearly I still haven't got it quite right, but we've got some success. Right. Okay, that'll do for now. I'll give this a run in daylight, but I just want to get this thing going. This is the body shell swap I wanted to do. It's actually a card body. I'll put a link in the video description to the build for the little card, what do they call it? Monster truck they called it. I do get the impression there's some sort of thermal cutout on that. So I leave it a few seconds. Yep, there we go. So yeah, we'll have a go with that in daylight so we can see it properly, if it's not raining tomorrow. I think that was the weather forecast. Yeah. That'll do.
Thanks for watching. You'll find more information down in the video description. You might like to watch that video up there, and you might like to subscribe over there.